I'm Bob Cooney, in case you didn't know that, and we're going to dive deep into a marketing program that I'm thrilled that is coming to us. Gaylor from HoloLabs is going to be walking us through just a very brief introduction in case you weren't here on the webinar last week and you're still kind of coming in hot a little bit with the new Abyss Vault game. We're gonna kind of frame that a little bit, and then we're gonna turn it over to the team at OneNet Marketing, who've been basically putting together this marketing launch plan for our industry, which I'm super excited about. I think is long overdue, and I'm really grateful for Nicole and Bran who are gonna walk us through how to do this, because most studios, in my experience, they spend years building a piece of content or a game, and they put it out into the market, and then they just move on to the next thing, and operators just kind of launch it, but that means turning it on in a launcher. And there's other ways we know from the entertainment industry that people can launch products and entertainment properties. And so that's what we're going to be about today. So, and I'm just going to keep hitting admit as people come in. And I think I am going to turn it over to Brett and try to shut up. And if you have questions before I shut up, drop them in the chat. I'll monitor them, and we'll kind of integrate them into the conversation and make sure that we answer all your questions as we go along.
Thanks, Bob. Bob is such a treasure to our community. I wanted to say and wanted to thank you publicly for all the work that you've done to help us conceive of this launch. We've been working with the LEXRA community, which is Bob and all the operators and folks who make up this great community. So thank you. As Bob mentioned, I'm with a studio called HoloLabs, where I'm our VP creative. And we're a studio in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, that has been working on a game called Abyss Vault for just about a year now, actually. Around this time is when we kind of embarked on this adventure. We're a studio that does a lot of things. You'll notice that our logo, I'll go back to it for a sec, is an octopus, because we are multi-tentacled. We work across a lot of different formats. We have a lot of different kind of people within our studio that range from creative technologists to game designers. And myself, I'm actually from a film background. And so we wanted to kind of talk today about how we're bringing those different experiences into how we launch this game. Last week, my colleague Mike, who's on this call, talked a bit about our background in producing themed entertainment. So we were one of the companies that worked quite closely on Mario Kart Koopa's Challenge, which is a Universal Studios ride. This is a ride that has like 60,000 people are riding this ride every day. It is in multiple countries. It's won many awards, and it's relevant to the LEXRA community because it is an augmented reality theme park ride. So when you're on this ride, you're actually wearing an augmented reality headset, and that requires, as this slide says, 300 synchronized computers are running to make that ride go. Each seat on the ride has a computer that is synchronizing your display with a large screen, with sort of animatronic Chuck E. Cheese style creatures. It's a very complicated, complex attraction. But at the end of the day, what it does is delights people. And we kind of we are also come from a gaming background. So we've developed games for the Switch and for console and things like that. And with Abyss Vault, we wanted to kind of bring these experiences and passions together that we have in, gameplay, but also with location-based experiences. And so that's kind of was our entryway into. It was actually at an IAAPA. I don't know if many folks have probably been to IAAPA, where IAAPA is a trade show and a convention where you kind of, on the one hand, you'll have people who make roller coasters, and then over there are the popcorn vendors. And in this small corner are people doing location-based virtual reality. And we're like, this is interesting. You have here, this it's in person, and it's a game. So we can take our expertise in designing both games, but also what are experiences that can delight people in person, and what do you have to do differently to make a game like that or an experience like that. But when we looked at this market, we noticed that almost all of the games were shooters. They were, the sort of zombie shooters, and we love zombies shooters. We love killing zombies. No shade on the zombies, but we sort of saw this kind of pattern where it it was difficult to bring in new audiences, because there was this cyclical thing where the operators were saying like, well, we like zombie shooter. We offer zombie shooters because that's the games that people want to play. And so we were in this thing where you're like, well, if you want to expand the audience, don't you kind of need new games? And so we looked at what was the experience that what were the types of people we wanted to bring in, and what would they actually want a game to, how would they want to feel when they left that game? And so we settled on a collaborative game, a cooperative game, where we wanted people to feel amazement, like they've never seen or felt anything like this. Admiration for their colleagues who they went on a journey together with, and they pulled something off. And this experience of ecstasy, we fricking did it. We overcame these challenges together, and we won. And so that kind of informed the type of game that we made and the mechanics that we would deploy in this game. And we did something kind of interesting, was that like many of the cities that you all are probably in, Victoria is experiencing a sort of collapse in retail, period. And so there was actually a lot of space in our local mall, and our local mall had this wonderful program where they were inviting artists in to see if they could kind of reimagine these spaces. And so we got one of those storefronts and we turned it into what we called the immersive lab. And so we were fortunate that we could beta test and play test our game every single Friday. We would bring in strangers into the space to see if the emotions that we wanted them to feel were working. And so we play tested it like with over the 70 plus public playtesters you see here are the ones that filled out our like survey. There was actually a lot more. As you all know, surveys are not people's favorite thing to do, but we asked them to do them to collect that data. We had people ranging from 10 years old to 70 years old play our game. And most of these people had never, well, according to this, actually 20% were first-time VR users. So yeah, maybe we were biased in this to people who kind of self-selected into liking virtual reality. But lots of people I can assure you, it was their first time ever doing VR. And almost all of them said they wanted to do it again. And so out of this kind of experimental lab that we had set up, came the game Abyss Vault, which is what we want to talk about today. It's a 30-minute free roam VR adventure for 2 to 6 players, where teamwork isn't optional, it's survival. So the theme of this game is sort of think of it as kind of a Bioshock-ish kind of theming, where you're a rebel squad. So maybe like Bioshock meets Andor. How's that? You're a rebel squad who deploys in a submarine, and you're headed down to this base underneath the ocean. And your mission is to retrieve the last biological samples of Earth, plants and animals that could reboot life on the surface, which a group of greedy elites have destroyed through war and their greed. Climate change and destruction came to the surface. You're the last remaining hope. You got to get down there and grab these samples, and then make your way to a rocket, which is in this base, which these greedy elites plan to actually take to Mars and reboot another planet. This has nothing to do with what's truly happening on Earth right now, nothing at all. And when you get there, you discover that all is not as you imagined. and there is a force that wants to kill you. So we're going to do a quick play of a trailer.
Oh, it's you, my favorite squad. Infiltrate the vault, steal that rocket, and bring life back to Earth.
I drowned the others. You will not escape either.
This way, this way.
Don't look down!
Are we jumping?
You're almost there. Climb. Spencer, use your light beam.
Tell us what you think.
It was amazing! It was so fun! We did it!
So that is Abyss Vault, and we want to talk about how we want to launch this using some approaches that we've learned from the world of independent film. So I was the creative director of Abyss Vault, but in a different life, I was the creative director and director of documentary films as well, like this one, RIP Remix Manifesto. So this is almost 2 decades old now. And at that time, when this film came out, we were kind of well into the digital revolution of filmmaking, where we were using cameras that were far, far cheaper than what studio films had been made with. This sort of democratized the playing field for people making films, but it had not yet sort of democratized distribution of films. So it was still very difficult to get your film onto television. There was no real path to distributing films on the internet yet. And the cinema sort of seemed out of reach. What the path at this point in filmmaking is that you would hope to get a really good festival run that would generate press, which would entice film distributors to pick up your film, and those film distributors had relationships with cinemas they could then put this film into a cinema. It would have a run there. After that run, further press would be garnered, and that would lead to that distributor then selling it to television stations, and then hopefully for distribution in physical locations and what was known at the time as a video store, where you would go and you would rent the movie and have it played there. And so all of that was just totally coming apart at the time that this film launched. And so we did something kind of different with RIP, was that we kind of had an open source screening idea, which was that anybody who wanted the film could get it for free, and that they could then charge what they wanted for the film. We're not doing that exactly with this one, by the way, but what we did is we opened it up for more people to be able to screen it. And so you had it screening at theaters, like you see me here at the Classic Ridge Cinema in Vancouver, RIP, or it would play at a library or at a film festival or all these other locations. And we would have this kind of community screening model. And what this relied on was making the events in which you would screen special. So we would have a party, we would have a speaker series, we would have items that you could give away. And this made it so that the audience felt like they were at something special. And we also open sourced the film itself so that as audience watched it, they could go home and remix it. We would have a station at the screening where they could take a picture of themselves like Bob is for screening the Truman Show. This film was about how the internet was kind of messing with copyright law. And so we allowed everybody that came to the screening to take a picture of themselves as a copyright criminal, and that became incorporated into further editions of the film. And so lots of other independent filmmakers, like my friend Nicole, also were doing similar things like this. I'm going to pass it to Nicole in a second, but before I do, wanted to sort of call out all the innovation that she did with her team on a project called Amplify Her, which is a documentary about you know, women and female identifying folks who created and played electronic music. I'm probably butchering that explanation, Nicole, but it's an exciting documentary about four women who are making electronic music and their struggles and joys of making that music. And to bring that to her community, they did this concept called the purple carpet, which I will let Nicole explain better than me as I pass it to her.
Awesome. Thanks, Brett. Yeah, so I think one of the most important takeaway, I think, from doing this sort of event in terms of the Purple Carpet tour was this idea that we wanted to eventize things. So just as Brett was saying with his release, they, were able to put it in locations all over the place. But one of the biggest challenges in the entertainment space is you release something, it goes to the movie theater, or a game goes into the VR arena, but how do you actually get butts and seats or people in headsets? And so for us, a big part of that was turning something from just simply any old day where you can go watch a movie into an event, and creating a event product experience. Let's use the word experience, it's better. An event experience that we can drive traffic to. And so what ultimately ended up happening is we sold out events all over the world. It through all the social media and sharing. Just go back, Brianne. I'm still talking about Amplify Her. Thanks. We basically sold out everywhere because people started telling their friends. The other big takeaway was creating, and we'll talk about this in the Abyss Vault launch shortly, is the idea of just like creating moments for people to share content. And so we created our own like photo backdrops, etc. We'll see some examples of that, and just how we were able to get the audience not only to attend the event, but to become our own marketers out in the world, drawing in new audiences. So the two big takeaways here that I'm going to keep reiterating as we go out and as we look at this launch strategy is this is a great way to get in new audiences, and the importance of actually creating something into a memorable experience and activating your audience so that they'll share things for you and be part of your marketing force moving forward. So what we decided to create for the Abyss Vault launch is what we're calling the Rebellion First Wave. And so this is a coordinated launch that is happening across in different locations around the world. So any person with spawn point or venue that has a spawn point in their venue that wants to participate can sign up to launch with us on this particular event. And so we're trying to do a release where there are people in different places around the world all doing the same activity, which is going to heighten the amount of social content that's out all over the place. And it's also going to create this event that we can now market differently because we've changed it from an everyday thing into an actual event. So now you're going to qualify for things like, things to do. Like there's a lot of different places, which we'll talk a little bit about in the press section if we get to it, but where normally you wouldn't be able to list, let's say, your venue because it's a venue, it's not an event, but now you have an event offering. So now you get to post your event all over the internet in places within your locale where might not have been accessible to you before, drawing in all kinds of new audiences. One of the key fun parts of this to make it an experience is that we have turned it into a competition, which we'll go through the details about later. But for the purposes of the beginning of this talk, there are prizes that you can win on the global level, and as well as the local. That'll be up to the operators to determine what those may be. But we do have some global ones as well that will also create a sense of playful, collaborative competition where people could potentially be the end prize being their name actually in the game. So lots of fun and excitement, and we're going to move through some of the key parts to this launch now. So the first thing about creating an experience is it has to feel like an experience. The moment the audience, actually even before the audience gets in, but for the purposes of this moment, as soon as they get into the venue, it can't feel like a waiting room. It needs to feel like you're walking into something. So the way that you're greeting the guests, that you're briefing them about the potential mission, and then just some of the things that you might have surrounding you are all parts of how that takes it from a regular moment into an experience worth sharing. So some of the things that you'll want to create or think about creating that, by the way, we have a kit for all of this, which Brianne's going to walk you through shortly, that has everything you need. It's in a box, paint by numbers kind of thing. One of the things that we recommend is that trying to create something within your venue that feels like it's a shareable moment where either you see something about Abyss Fault, or even if it's like a nice little neat tucked corner where hopefully your staff is going to encourage someone to take a picture because they're at this official event, and that becomes some of the juice in social media that's going to bring people in. So there's a little example of Miss Marvel, and then just taking a look at some of the options that you can do. So at the bottom, you'll see a picture of me by Amplify Her. So we've actually created movie-like style marquee posters that are in the kit that you can print and put up in your store. You can use it as first to coming soon, and then like a launch moment. Creating a space where people can take their picture by the poster is incredibly important, and again, creates that feeling. We also have a photo backdrop that you could print if you would like, that you can also create a whole photo moment. So just up in the right-hand corner, that's one we had created for Amplify Her. And if you look at the left-hand corner, this is we did actually a fake photo shoot to show how this would look and appear for people. The backdrop that's in there is the one that's available to you that you can print. We're just testing out a photo print. It would be about $50 on Amazon to get this, where you can put it up in your venue. And then if that's like prohibitive, you don't have enough space, you can also just create a really colorful scene, like in the right-hand corner. Where you're just like adding some light and just making a spot in your place that you're gonna then usher people to and offer to take their photo. So this is super important. We'll also want to encourage them to use hashtags, probably your venue, tagging at your venue, and then of course the official Abyss Fault hashtag. So let's go talk quickly about the mechanics. So the idea here is that we want people to kind of compete in a playful way. There are 3 different categories: family rebels, team rebels, and adult rebels. And they're going to compete to get the fastest time in the world to find 10 hidden objects. And those objects have been hidden in specifically for the launch. And so once people have completed and found those 10 objects, then they need to take a picture of the operator screen that has the time, and they're going to submit it via hashtag into the official, as an official entry. And once we have that, the team that comes in each category, so there's 3 winners, that has the fastest time will win their name in the actual game in the lobby. Their squad name will be there for eternity. We're immortalizing them. And there's also another part to this. So we wanted to add and incorporate the idea that people should dress up. So when we think about a film premiere, yes, there's like best dressed and worst dressed lists and people dressing up for them. We're not asking them to dress in red carpet attire, but rather in coordination. So because this game leverages color so much, we're asking their team to dress in red, green, or blue. So that's a communication we'll want to make sure is in all of our messaging so that people do show up to the venue in color. One of the things about that is as soon as you put something on and you've made that effort, it immediately changes your experience. So let's say they've done that, you have a little photo corner, everything's kind of going, maybe there's a little hand holding at the beginning. They're going to feel like it's an event because they showed up ready for an event. So it also internalizes that feeling of the experience right from the guest themselves.
Hey, Nicole, I want to jump in there. There's a model that talks about commitment. And the lowest level of commitment, it goes money, time, energy, identity. Identity is the highest level of commitment. So when you show up and you think about how you're going to show up together for this event, you actually identify with it, which anchors those memories, and you're more likely to talk about it. So there's deep psychology behind that. It's really smart to do that.
Can I also talk, Nicole, to the just in case it wasn't totally clear to everybody on the call about the name in the lobby? You'll notice that the aesthetic of this game is very punk, right? It's the rebels kind of have repurposed a lot of the technology that's underneath, that's within the base, but it's all kind of like salvaged and spray painted. Think of the kind of Star Wars Rebels. And when you're in the submarine that's going down, everything you kind of, you're able to really understand that kind of story world of what's at the top of what's above the surface. And so it's very colorful, and it currently includes graffiti tags of all these other rebels, and those rebels are actually us that made the game. So my gaming nickname Snack Bar is in there. All kinds of other folks from the game have their graffiti, and we want the rebels that come to that opening weekend to be part of that too. So our art director Scott Douglas is like standing by, ready to translate their tags into something that will come into the game and be there forever. And we found with Rip, and I'm sure this was your experience with Amplify her, Nicole, that like that if you're at the top of that pyramid of commitment and you identify with this game, then you are also going to like be the ambassador and bring people back. Like, you gotta, I'm in this game, I want you to come and try it. It's so cool. And then we can keep in communication with them. And the trophies that you win too are like literally being 3D printed right now at our office in Victoria and painted by hand. And we're kind of trying to, give the game this sort of like artisanal feel that, it's like, it's a work of art, that our players get to be within.
So, and then there's one other thing we would recommend doing. So, is to create a leaderboard so that you're also showcasing this. So depending on your venue, you may already have something set up where, which is the case for some of them we've already talked to, where you can enter in people's names and show on a scoreboard. But even if you do it by chalk, which again brings that indie vibe, that artistic vibe, that's totally cool. You just want to be able to show people as you're ushering them into the game that like, hey, there's other rebels here. We want to connect them to the other people that are playing, which is much more important in this case than the film experience, right? Because in the film experience, we're all there together and we're staring at a screen. But here we want to create that sense of connection of the groups, by being able to show that other groups were there on the same day and you're trying to beat their score. Because obviously this is happening over days, you're not going to necessarily, it's not the same stare at a screen experience. There's throughput to keep in mind with this. So we want to create that sense of connection everywhere we can to what is happening around the world. We've also included in the digital kit an operator launch flow. I like to say, and I hope you guys know who Bob Ross is. You'll hear me say this a couple more times probably, but you can kind of Bob Ross it, right? It's like, it's your happy little tree. So like you can take this, it's a flow that works for a couple different venues. Your venue might be slightly different. You can alter it any way you see fit. Same with any of the assets that we're going to share with you. But it'll walk you through, it'll give you verbiage you can say upon entry, and different things just to note around making sure you get people to capture their score and submit it to the global competition if they did in fact win this or actually complete the task and get all 10 items. You want to make sure that they're taking a picture of that and submitting it so that they get a chance to be in the game. And so for prizes, Brett alluded to, so there's the most punk, so that's the team that dresses the best. And so for the global winner, you do get a trophy, which we'll see in a second, and then the fastest time in each 3 of those categories, so family, teen, and adult, we will actually put their squad name in the game. And again, those hashtags are mandatory for them to enter. So because we need to be able to see them on our end. If someone is not social mediating, we also provide an email that they can just submit via email to us, which also is fine. And so that is what Brett was talking about. Ultimately, squad name goes right into the game, right into the lobby there, and then you can see on the left-hand side the trophy, which they have literally hand sculpted in order to make it extra special and cool. And now we're gonna talk a little bit about, I'm going to pass it to Brienne and we're going to kind of share this on the actual kit you're going to get and how to use it and what the actual launch strategy looks like.
So our goal was to make this as easy as possible for you. So a lot of the steps and assets that you need to launch this with a bang, we've actually already made for you and already put in a bit of a distribution guide for you. Some of those things Nicole just mentioned have a little bit more to do with having like posters in your backdrop and kind of setting the scene in your venue, and then the rest of them are a little bit more digital. And so I'm going to spend a minute just walking us through some of those more digital moments. And so what's going to happen when you sign up to be a part of this is you're going to get access to this Google Drive. And this Google Drive has a bit of everything. We've got branding, email assets, game clip photos, key art, our poster, our backdrop, press resources, social media posts, trailers. This is the operator flow that you saw a quick sneak peek of before, that just walks you through how to welcome someone and some of the steps that can be involved and the hashtags that you should be doing, all kind of just in a row for you. And then the other document that we're going to spend most of our time in here is the actual distribution guide. So great, we got all this stuff. When do I do what with what? And so that digital guide looks like this. Across the left here are a series of tabs that will look a little bit similar to the Google Drive folders that you were just looking at, but the very first one here is the plan. So when you come in here to look at this, it's broken down into 4 weeks loosely leading up to launch. I do want to stress, as Nicole said, take this, adjust it slightly, make it work for you. We're just going to walk you through kind of like an ideal, fully fleshed out scenario. You customize as needed. But basically within 4 weeks to launch, you're going to want to do some of this stuff within this week here. And then we have 3 weeks to launch, 2 weeks to launch, and then actual launch week. Largely, you'll kind of see the messaging evolve over time. So the first week here is kind of the biggest. It's the launch of kind of getting it out there. It's very high level messaging of what to expect. Then we dive in a little bit more. We're trying to emphasize like this is kind of exclusive and it's going to be exciting. And then we want to again emphasize like you should dress up. There's going to be prizes, kind of trying to capitalize on tapping into that psychology that Bob was talking about earlier. And then lastly, just to fill all of your spots, we have a few assets that are like, hey, it's your last chance to register. And so everything that you need is kind of anchor linked in here for you. And I want to walk you through kind of how you would do it in practice. So say you come in here and you're like, great, it's the week of May 4th, roughly, and I want to go on my Meta social, so if that's Facebook or Instagram, and I want to do some organic posts, or I just want to post on my page to say this is happening. You can come in here and you can say, great, let's go check out the first carousel post. It's going to bring you down the side here where we have all of the assets that you need for that organic post. And we have image files for each of them, and we have post copy for each of them. If there's anything that needs to be customized or edited for your unique location, we've tried to make that really obvious for you in bright yellow highlights. But for the images, there's kind of 2 ways you can go about doing it. The most easy, you don't have to think about it way, is to come into Google Drive. And this is a link that has all of these completed images just ready to download. And so you come in here, and these are sized slightly differently for whichever one you're using, but you can come into Facebook and say, great, I just want to download these images. 1, 2, 3, 4 in the carousel. And they all just kind of match exactly the overview that you saw here. And this flow kind of is the same. It's the same for stories. On week 3, we have another carousel post. If there's anything that we think might be kind of confusing or we want to give you a quick heads up for, I have left a small comment on the side. So for example, in this carousel, the 3rd one is a video. We just have a note for you for that. Now, the last thing I want to mention from a high level is if for whatever reason you want to update these images, we've also tried to make that really easy for you. So what you're going to do is you're going to click instead on the Canva link that says, hey, I would love to duplicate and edit this. And so if you come into your personal Canva account and you load this link, at first you're going to be like, Brianne, you told me you could edit this, but I can't edit anything. So first of all, you do have to duplicate it. So you just come into File, make a copy. Then there are certain fields in here you can edit. You'll also notice there are some things you can't edit. That's because legally we need to show these logos. Strategically, we think this is a good image for you to use. But if you want to come in here and add the name of your venue location, whatever it is, you can very easily edit this text. You can also add your own logo in the corner if you'd like. So there's some simple edits that we wanted to make accessible for you. If you want and to do things from scratch, you also again have, all those assets that you need to do that back in the main drive. But for the most part, we've tried to make it easy for you. So that's social media posts. I'm going to briefly walk through the rest of these tabs with you in conjunction with Nicole, just kind of explaining to you from a high level why you would want to have paid ads, what that looks like a little bit, and then the assets are available therein.
So just starting with the ads, so we feel like, and there is, Bob's going to mention it at the end, but an ad credit. There's also another potential if you're not sure how to do meta ads, there'll be another thing you can attend off the back of this. But ultimately, a goal here is to create as many people as we can, as early as we can in the funnel, in order to get people interested to attend the event, so that ultimately we have people then signed up early. We can start to spread the news organically as well. So within the way that we're asking you to consider doing this is we have several different kinds of ads. Depending on your market, there's going to be something that's going to perform better. So we've made as many different styles of things just to see what will land. So there are static ads, there's a carousel ad, there's a video ad. Again, they're all available here. There's a couple different static ads you can try and you can use in order to load them up in your Meta account. And then we just ask to watch it. And about a week and a half in or halfway through, I'm just going to say half week through because it depends on when you start, you'll just want to go in and turn off anything that isn't performing. So Meta is going to put more emphasis and more dollars around the things that are around the ones that are actually working for you. So
hey,
that's
Nicole, I'm just gonna jump in there really quickly. The new algorithm, and I'll wrap this at the end and talk a little bit more about it. But the new algorithm actually does that for you. So it will only serve the things that are working as long as you have attribution on your website. So if you're not familiar with the new algorithm, it's called GEM and Andromeda. Stick around at the end. I'm going to give you some tips, and then we'll talk about how to get you more information.
The only thing I'll add from a functional perspective in this document is that some of the time these ads will be videos. You can also edit them in Canva. I've left a link here to their help video, but you'll have access to the timeline to edit any text on that as well, if you would like.
That's amazing.
Great. And then moving on, so one of the other big things here that we talked about is when we make an event, we allow ourselves to add we allow our event now to go into event calendars. And this is huge because it allows you to promote it in all of those like things to do, DMO. It could be like a special like family calendar of events. It allows you to put it there because you now have dates around it. And so we first suggest that you set it up in Facebook if you are in fact on Facebook. We gave you all the assets to set up an event in Facebook as well as the copy. And then from there, we encourage you to invite people so it starts to spread. The importance of this here is that you're going to show up when people are looking things to do on the weekend, you're going to start showing up, right? And people are then going to see it and you're going to drive traffic there. We do have this set up. I think we set it up this morning as a fake one, Brianne. I don't know if you've that open. That just kind of shows everything here. So in Victoria, we have the Rebellion event listed. All the information is in it. And if you scroll down lower, if this was, did he put any posts in here? Discussion. He did not, or he didn't, did he add them?
I
No.
think you did. They just took a second
Did.
to
It's
load.
just loading. I'm like, he didn't add them. So we've also added something that's really important in Facebook events to keep it up in people's feeds is to post in the actual Facebook event itself. So we've also created some cut and paste posts that you can add in, one a week or whatever, just to keep the conversation going, get people excited. Again, Bob Ross it. Sounds like a lot of work. You don't have to do it, but it does help boost those algorithms.
All right, the next thing we want to talk about are emails. So there's two different kinds of emails you may or may not be sending from your current venue. So again, use what you have. There's promotional emails, which essentially are like if you're sending out a newsletter, this is something you can send out that way. We also have a few transactional emails. So if somebody does book and you normally send out an email that says, thanks for booking, here's some extra information. We also have some added information you can add on those emails. But otherwise, we have our first email here. Kind of again, just introducing it. Second one, telling them about, dressing up and prizes, etc. And then the third one as just a reminder. So pick whatever makes the most sense in your email flow. If you don't send out emails very often, I wouldn't recommend sending 3, but if you do and your audience is used to that and they engage with it, great, it's there for you.
One other thing is she scrolls down to those promotional events. You'll seeing like the really big, it's very important, like 2 days out or 3 days out. That's when you're going to see the most amount of conversion. So being able to create that sense of urgency, like the event is selling out, even if it's not, is going to drive more bookings and more conversions for you, more people. So just make sure just a day or two out, if you're taking and you only put the hype email out, I'm going to stress this is probably the most important post to put out is letting people know that, hey, this FOMO is real. They're going to miss out if they don't book it. Oftentimes we saw like over half of the things booked would happen in like the last 24 to 48 hours. So it happens right at the end. So you really want to push it there.
And you can always customize this text to your specific location. So if there's only 3 spots left, you can say that here if you edit it in Canva.
And finally, the media releases. So something again that's really nice about the idea of this launch event is the fact that it is an event, and so you can outreach and ask people to either show up to it or invite influencers, maybe comp their pass. They're the ones that are going to give you the best social shares. So we've created a guide here for you for this. When we're talking about influencers in this, it's like maybe depending on the size of your venue, if you're in cities, or if you're in a big city, like you're probably not going to get something in the newspaper, etc. That's not going to happen. But what will happen, and the most important people to pay attention to, are like the mom bloggers or the like local community area where people are looking to get information about what to do. So stuff that's really targeted to the locale and targeted to your target audiences. That's who you want to focus on. The influencer does not have to be like someone who's has like 1 million followers. They could have 5,000 followers, but the followers are the ones you want to reach, and they're actively posting. Yes.
And you can do that via email, or if you know people on Instagram or whatever platform it is you're trying to reach out, you can also DM them. We have a few different outreach messages. Again, they're called emails, but they might not be. And if it's a gaming influencer, you might want to send some of this messaging, kind of a bit of a hook explaining why. And again, like Nicole said, you might want to offer them a complimentary session just to say like, hey, come in, try it out. And so you can then share it with your audience, but of course is at your discretion. But we have that for a few different types of people you might be reaching out to. And just for whoever you do reach out to, make sure you include, if you can, a copy of the media release, only because it's going to have all of the detailed information that they might want to use in turn when they go to repost the event and share it with their audience. And so the last thing in here is posters, which we already talked about, but there are links to them. You can edit them. And so that's kind of the distribution plan from a high level and the Google Drive assets that you'll have access to.
And I just saw a question in the chat there around landing pages. So we have actually made, if you have a specific layout, you can send it to us and we'll give you specific assets. for that landing page. We've made a couple already for booking flows. I can also put an ad into this kit. So this is an evolving kit. If you ask for things and need things, we'll consistently update it. So I can also add some general backgrounds and some images that'll work for web in there. If there's something custom you need, just reach out in Discord to us and we can set you up there.
Yeah, so a couple of questions. First of all, like that is amazing. Like even just like the email sequences that you created, like you've put so much thought and detail into this. And one of the things I want to say is like, you were very generous about saying, well, if you're doing email, do this. And if you're doing this, do this. Like if you want to be, you got to do all this shit. And it's a lot of work. I realize it, but this is what you have to do to be successful running a location-based entertainment business. And I know that, oftentimes, it's a scramble for effort and time. But I think that this playbook is something that you can really start after you do it. Like it'd be good to do a reflection, and maybe we can do this around the LEXRA Summit, August 3rd to 5th in Austin, Texas, which we're going to announce here very quickly, or I just did. But we can do a bit of a workshop around how do you launch how do you incorporate content launches into your marketing plan and your operational flow and sequence, because it doesn't, the studio, not every studio is going to support this. Like we're going to bang the drum and hopefully get more studios to do this and provide these tools for you. But you can do this with any game. Like you can just have a game launch in your market with pick a game and what do you want to do and just apply this playbook to the whole thing. And if you don't have the creative chops to create, go on Upwork, and there's tons of great designers that are looking for work, and and you can pay somebody $10 an hour to kind of create assets for you, and they might not be as gorgeous as these, but they could solve they could fit the need. So yeah, I just want to say how thorough this is and how impressive it really is, and I haven't seen anything like this from anybody in this space. Maybe short of Sandbox, but I haven't seen any other company provide this level of marketing support for a new launch. So well played.
Bob, I
Yeah.
also wanted just to throw out like, we've done so much work in coordinating for this weekend, and there's the contests and all that stuff, but this doesn't preclude anybody from having this party again, and we would certainly, be sharing and helping and do everything we can around that. And it's like, following the film model, it's like you're basically trying to get the film or the game to be held over. You know what I mean? This was successful, and so that it comes back. And so, we want this kind of coordinated launch, and we're gonna make videos of how this all went, so that you can have videos that you can sort of share with your audience again. Like, yeah, look how fun the last weekend was. You should come again. Sort of thing. So this isn't a one and done thing.
And on that, I want to touch on the influencers. Somebody made a comment about influencers, and I really think, and I'm thinking out loud here, so I'm open to push back on this or to just ignore it. But I really don't know that you want to bring in influencers in advance of this. I think this is because you want the influencers there when you have the crowds there, because they're going to create video for you, right? And so what you want to do is get the influencers there during the launch weekend when it's busy. You treat them like VIPs. We've done a whole launch influencer masterclass, by the way, in LEXRA under the marketing masterclasses. If it's not up yet, PM me and I'll get you a link to the raw video. But you want to get them there during the weekend, and you want to negotiate for the raw video stuff that they do if you have any kind of video editing capability, because then you can make potentially additional videos, or maybe talk to them as what they do for a living and see if they can cut some video out of their footage for you to use as well. But get the influencers there for the launch weekend, not before in this case. If you were doing a grand opening, then you might want to get VIP pre-opening influencers, but I don't know that strategy makes sense on this one. Somebody asked if there are rebel cutouts for people, like character cutouts for people to print out and take pictures next to in the kit. And if not, if there's interest in that, I know Fred was interested. Is there a way to provide that? It would have to be a big file, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's we do have a bunch of we have the photo backdrops and a couple other things, but if people want character cutouts, we're happy to provide it.
Yeah.
Not a problem. We can add that to the kit. Our kits, just to continue on with the idea, the kit will be there, has a lot of the things that are themed for the launch. After, we'll refresh it with just general things so that you can market the game after if you want to, after the launch event. And we do have some other little packs that'll come out, like we're doing a birthday pack, so there'll be other assets and stuff to come to target and hit different audiences.
Yeah, Craig's asking about press, advanced screenings for press. And you're in a really small market, Craig, so you probably get more traction on this than most people will. So it's an interesting point. I'm not sure about that one. I think it's a good question. And again, your mileage may vary. Like Bob Rossett, I love that. I'm going to so steal that, Nicole. It's awesome. Whatever works in your market. If you've marketed successfully in your market and you know what you're doing, by all means, do that, right? There is no one size fits all marketing approach. These are frameworks. And every market and every company is going to be a little bit different. So,
Bob Mohammed had a question about what physical assets may.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening with the trophy, and there might be some. Who gets the trophy? How do they get the trophy? What's happening there with the physical versus the digital assets? It's a good question.
Yeah, so for the physical asset, the trophy, so they need to submit a picture. So it's for the best dressed group, and they'll need to use the Abyss Vault hashtag and tag HoloLabs Studio. And hopefully you're also adding that they have to tag your venue, because why not get your venue in the mix of that? And once they've done that, our team will select the winner and we'll ship the trophy out to the winning team.
Yeah, cool. Look, the other thing I wanted to ask about, you've got posters in there, kind of like the movie posters, printing. There's clearly volume discounts, massive volume discounts on printing. Any opposition to giving posters to people who come and play as swag? Because if you print enough of them, I'm assuming they're going to be pretty darn cheap, and that could be a great takeaway.
Yeah, 100%. We've created a couple different sizes. So the most expensive size to print is the marquee size. We've also created 11 by 17, which are super cheap to print. So you can print a bunch of 11 by 17s. People can roll it up, take it, put them in their room. That's really great takeaway. The marquee isn't crazy expensive, just more expensive than the other format. And the marquee posters have the credit block at the bottom, so it makes it look like a film premiere as well.
And maybe you could offer some of those as prizes. So you have a limited number of those. You could even frame one if you wanted to give it away. And so there's some, I'm assuming there's some ways you can play around with that to kind of create a little bit more value within the venue really inexpensively. I'm just looking at the chat to see if any other questions have come in. Have the team sign the poster and selfie. That'd be a cheap extra prize, Brett.
Yeah, we would do that. Totally.
Like a signed limited edition from the development team or something like that. Like those are super cool. That would be super cool.
We're doing a launch that weekend here in Victoria, which is kind of our game launch party, and so we have a few additional assets that we're giving our peeps here, that like a pin we have, and there's going to be some cool bandanas. We could give you all the models for that. We don't have the capacity to send to every single place in the world that puts their hand up, and that's why we're trying to make, we're giving those as bits rather than atoms for you to print wherever you need. But we can share some of those things. Like I mentioned in the chat, we have a step and release, or a step and repeat.
Step and repeat.
Yeah, you come, you take your picture in front of the cool thing, which is the sub, and you move on. But I like Fred, your example of the cutout too. We talked about those, but we kind of settled on the step and repeat instead. So if you wanted to collab on making one of those, we could make it available to anybody.
I'm just going to say, Craig Hudson in the chat owns a large format printing company in England. So he's got 20 years of expertise printing large format stuff. So, and he's, active in the LEXRA community too. So if you're not on LEXRA, lexra.org, you should get in there, and we'll be offering some marketing support. I did say I wanted to talk about the Meta ads thing. So late last year, early this year, Meta changed the algorithm for serving ads, and there's two new algorithms they created. One's called GEM, and one's called Andromeda, and they work together and they're persona based. So what they do is, it used to be you had to define your audiences and, this group and this age and this group and this thing, and they like this and they like that. You had all these audiences you have to manage. You don't have to do that anymore. In fact, if you do that, you're going to limit your success on the ads. What they've done is they've basically rebuilt the whole ad serving algorithm. And as long as you are optimizing for conversion in your ad campaign, and if you don't know how to do that, let us know. We can point you to some resources. As long as you're optimizing for conversion, which means they bought a ticket, right? Then they're going to find people who buy tickets. That's what they're going to do. And the key to that is lots of ad creative. You need diversity of ad creative. So you put all the ads that these guys put out there in there, and Meta will find the ones that work, and it'll serve the ones that work, and it'll ignore the ones that don't. Now, over time, do you want to trim the tree? Yes, but you only trim it when you put new ad creative in. You don't want to hamstring the creative. So, and so for this launch, put it all out there, let it run for a month, and then after the month, by then we'll have the AI Marketing Masterclass up in LEXRA. We've created some tools to allow you to build new creative at scale, and it's gonna unlock the new Meta algorithms for you. In an hour, you could create 10 or 15 different ads. And we've got those tools. We've got the masterclass recording. It's in editing right now. I expect it to be up any day. If you need early access to it, let me know. I'll send you the raw recordings. That was that. Yeah. And there are a couple of ad experts in LEXRA, by the way. Mikey Cole from Zeus, who's Braden Clark is in LEXRA. He runs an agency that specializes in attribution and paid digital. And so they're good. There's some talent in there that can help you navigate this.
Bob,
ad creation resources and info. Yeah, just message me in LEXRA or drop me an email at bobc@bobcooney.com, and I'll get you in there. All of those resources are under the member resources in LEXRA. And so just to be clear, they click on hololabs.org/abyss. They sign up. You give them access to the kit and everything else they need to get going, basically. And then after they run paid ads, they can submit proof of service or proof of purchase back to you, and the first 5 in some order will get a Meta ad credit to spend more.
That's it.
Because Mark Zuckerberg needs your money.
Exactly. We were like, this guy needs our help, and so we set up this whole campaign. Good thing that the rebels are coming to his rescue, because otherwise the elites might take a rocket ship to Mars. I
just want to let everybody know we've locked down the LEXRA Summit. This is the continuation of the VR Arcade and Attraction Summit. It has been, this will be our 8th year. We're rebranding it the LEXRA Summit. We're moving it out of Las Vegas in March because it's May. We're moving it to the summer when it's got a little bit more free air between IAPA, Amusement Expo, and all these other events. It's going to be in Austin. It's going to officially be the 3rd to the 5th of August, which is Monday through Wednesday. We're going to have a reception on Sunday night for people to come in early. And it's going to be held at Riva's location. She has generously offered to let us four-wall her 30,000 square foot VR arcade. It is a very unique venue. She's got 10,000 square foot of tracked free roam space. She's got holographic zoo. She's got all kinds of cool stuff, an arcade, a hologram stage, and we're going to be turning that into a venue for the LEXRA Summit. You can go to summit.lexra.org for more information. Kylie just put it in the chat, and there'll be more official announcement will go out early next week, but we hope to see you there. My pleasure. Thanks for doing all this great work, guys. Really, seriously, it's and I want to, when the dust settles, we can talk about, kind of a bit of a retrospective case study and building out a best practice guide for other content creators, because I think this is the way, as the Mandalorian would say.
And then you drop by saying, "I have spoken." Right?
I have spoken. Thanks, everybody. If you have questions, You know how to get us all. You can always email me, hit me up through LEXRA, go to the landing page. And this is how to launch a product from Fred C. We'll end on that. Awesome. Looking forward to the revolution. No, the rebellion. I keep getting that wrong. The rebellion.
The rebellion will lead to the revolution.
Yeah,
thanks, everyone.
Televised, right?
Good luck with this. Great. Much success.